Another 3-cost reroll comp that is capitalizing on the strength of an overstated unit is starting to gain a lot of traction among top players. My name is Boris and today we'll be looking at the Shepherd Kaisa board, followed by a VOD review. Quickly about the board, we want to be playing it ideally from a Kaisa orb, and we're not exactly in a spot to be going for a Primordial reroll, but we have AD slams nonetheless. Otherwise, we may be playing around Ezreal and Cho'Gath opener, or around Lissandra or Zoe with something like a Shojin or a blue buff if we get our hands on somehow early on, plus Vanguard units. If we are playing from a loss streak, we're going to be loss streaking all the way to 3-5 to make use of that loss streak gold and spiking our board with 2 stars. Otherwise, from a win streak, we may opt to either push tempo by lowering for the 2 stars there nonetheless, but we are also fine to be delaying our level 7 to 4-1 and then roll for our 2 stars, as we'll be wanting a lot of gold to hit these 3-star units on 3 costs. For our level 7 board, we have to choose between Rast and a Gwen here at this point. Simply identify what your board needs the more and what your matchups are looking like. Then we're going to be staying level 7 until we hit one of our 3-cost tanks, and a Kaisa and Mordekaiser can be a nice tag along if you are super rich. And push levels where we cap with replacing Lissandra with Jhin plus Sona. We can also replace Gwen with Riven, and then simply having the Nami in for an extra Space Groove trade for the Rast is quite nice, giving you Replicator plus Space Groove if you keep around that Lissandra. Other things to note regarding the comp, Kaisa has a built-in reset mechanic where she gains mana on takedown, so try to position her on the weak side of enemy boards, but ensure that your tank is obviously there in front of their carries to stall long enough. With Darkstar Emblem, couple of other variations also open up. This is going to be the comp you play when you are unable to go to level 9 to cap around one of those Darkstar flex variations, on which I made all the video about, going in detail about all the possible ways there. You can find it on my channel. Here we are still fine to be going for the our 3-star Illaoi or Mordekaiser, but our crucial point is going to be securing this karma as fast as possible. Well, before we could just be using some kind of Cho'Gath to fill that slot for 4 Darkstar. Here we want to be activating 6 Darkstar as soon as possible. Therefore, simply finding your 2 stars and going to level 8 to secure this karma is worthwhile. Plus, this board won't really fit. You could drop Rogue until you get there if you find a karma on level 7, but generally this is going to open up your possibility to be capping around higher value units and only chase this Kaisa on level 8. We can be playing Tahm Kench for our extra resources, Nunu for the stun, and simply replacing Meepsy with the Mighty Mech right here, and then also find that Riven 2 as a potential secondary duo carry, which is a lot stronger than that Gwen. Other good emblems for the comp are obviously the Rogue emblem, providing you a +1 and not having to play the Gwen on level 7, can toss that Rast in right away. Voyager is a nice +1. Brawler opens up you the possibility of playing with a TK for those extra resources. Shepherd emblem enables you to be playing around 5 Shepherd instead, but I would only do so when I find that Sona. And Timebreaker, we simply replace Gwen with Riven and gain a little attack speed for ourselves. We are going to be using our augment choices on extra econ, as these 3-cost rerolls are so expensive, and then we're looking for items. Regarding combat augments, Jeweled Lotus is great, bypassing your necessity to make the Infinity Edge, and any form of a frontline augment, especially you have that Darkstar emblem, are going to work quite nicely, since they're going to be buffing the black holes, and something like Boxing Lessons is going to scale off the HP of your Darkstar units, so there's the double dip right there. Regarding itemization, we definitely want to be making IE for the Kaisa. That's her strongest item, as majority of her damage is purely into that spell. Then blue buff is going to be a little better than the Shojin, since she gains base stats both from Rogue and Darkstar, and the last slot Striker's Flare synergize, giving her that extra amp, but Giant Slayer or Last Whisper or Deathblade are completely fine. Want to make sure we have that Sunder if we are not making an even Shroud. For the Karma, generic caster items, Jeweled Gauntlet, Nashers or Shojin, and then some utility is fine. Whatever you can spare for her is going to do good. Whereas for Illaoi, Stoneplate, as she's going to be your sole real tank in the comp, once a 3-star is nice. Then holding some form of utility, even Shroud or Sunfire can work. Otherwise, if you're going for pure tank build, Crown Guard and Warmogs or Protector's Vow are amazing. Steadfast should earn a shout out as well. For the gods selection, Varus, since we're playing a reroll comp, is amazing, has the potential to offer you some duplicators, Kale for those extra items so we can invest more into econ augments and some combat power, whereas Ari is going to alleviate some of that econ requirement for ourselves. Yasuo Hexes can be quite neat as well, can sort out some of that utility, or more pure allow you even more unkillable. As usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below, and along the meta sheet I have made, where you can find all the cheat sheets I have made. And now let's jump in a game with a pro. For our WOD review, we are going to be jumping in game with Chaos from the APAC region, playing at the moment at 1000 LP Challenger, starting out with a Twisted Fate, and we get a Fizz Orb right away. Fizz is one of the units you could definitely be considering playing around in the earlier game, as he would, if you're able to get some items on him, he can be quite strong. We already have a Veigar right now, but we're going to be fielding the Cho'Gath as we hit a pair of that and Alessandro, one of the units that connects so many lines. We have a Fizz pair, so we're able to sell that right away to make 10. Stronger play right now, since we also have these Primordians right there already could be holding on to. Definitely want to be making 10 from these 3 costs mostly currently in the meta, since, as mentioned, quite a lot of them are enabled through items, and only few can do so with very little, and if you see multiple of them, it's most likely going to be an econ opener rather than the item one. For our item, we have a Steadfast right away, so not that excited to slam it, but could do so if he had an upgraded frontliner, as Steadfast is an item with greatest ninjas when you have more. For our augments, Reach for the Stars. This augment is going to have some design issues due to the fact that it's converting the best tank in your line, and pretty much one of the only tanks in the line, to a damage dealer, so we'll have to pass on that. Money Hungry, just a very generic econ augment, not that strong either. Spirit Redemption, now that could be something we consider if we had an upgraded frontliner for potential of streaking. Booster Pack, more a direction kind of augment for the econ. We have already made 10, so the extra 10 gold is not that exciting right now. Therefore, we're defaulting Money Hungry at the moment. Backline Blueprint, now this can give you only a certain set of emblems. We can have the Rogue emblems, the Challenger emblem, the Sniper emblem, the Voyager emblem, and the Marauder emblem for the damage dealing 3 cost units. And generally the Challenger emblem seems to be a miss in the current meta. Sniper emblem is decent, but exactly when you're able to pair it with something like a Darkstar emblem or play into a Xayah from a great spot. However, with the usage of the Rogue emblem in for this line, this augment has seen a little more appeal, plus can provide us with a clearer direction from what we have already now. Heroic Grab Bag is something that we do not want to be really leaning into on 2-1, unless we have a very clear reroll direction already established, but we're going to be going with the backline blueprint, and we find a Kai'Sa with that Rogue emblem, so we have a great opener to be playing around now, as we are also able to hit a 2-star Cho, going to be leveling to fit in this Rogue, as we're able to also make 10 nonetheless, wanting to utilize this item advantage, and we're just letting the Rogue emblem onto the Cho'Gath. Now, generally you do not want to be having the aggro drop on your tank, but of course Kai'Sa is able to reset on her own, but still, whenever a tank rolls a TG on an Edge of Night, I'm not too happy myself. And they're going into this Briar default positioning where we're able to proc the Briar's Rogue. She gains the attack speed, and then your units are retargeting on your main tank. Now our main tank now has the Rogue emblem, which is a little sketch in my opinion, but hey, nonetheless, this is going to have to deal. We want to be buffing our upgraded unit with the items, and it seems we're getting a little 2-in-1 right now, as he's yeah, that's the player in the lobby right now, playing also quite a strong of a board. Perhaps we're trying to see what direction they end up going on, so we can decide on our own. We hit a Illaoi and a Mordekaiser pair. Now these are absolutely great shops, so we're going to be transitioning into this 4 Darkstar variant. Is this going to be stronger than what we have? Seems so, and enables us to be making sure that we are playing into a more uncontested line. Since we pumped that level, they're most likely not going to be going for that Primordial reroll, and it seems that we might be considering the player or other player also to be going there. Plus we're able to make 20 this way, so we should be quite good to be cruising here on a 3 streak. You can see this guy is an absolute unit, even without items for our god selection right now. Skull Party is something that's generally going to be valued about 7 to 9 gold, I believe it is. Some say 8, some say 9. I believe Mordog said 9 at the start of a set. But let's evaluate the item. We can definitely use quite a few gloves. The chain has some uses, but I believe the glove is a little bit more useful. But we have no use of making these free rerolls use right away, so perhaps we're going to be going with Skull Party. I would myself also be wanting aligning with Echo if possible, since the Anomaly is a great tank item, and later on we can just toss it onto a Karma for something if we wanted to. I would not be using it on a Kaisa. It does give anti-heal, but it's not that strong until it does such in the pure item stats. But the extra item from the Anomaly is nonetheless very nice. So we're going with the Echo right there. Want to be playing the stronger board, and another play you could have been considered going for the free rerolls and perhaps using some of them if you were sitting on a parasitic kind of spot like this, if you wanted to secure a win streak, but that's not the spot we're in right now. So we're queuing into the aura farming player, so it seems that we were just trying to see if they're going to be playing the stronger board or level. I don't know, utilizing all the advantages he can, but they are playing into that bard, so it's most likely going to be the bard quirky driven variation. Obviously another form of a comp that we could be playing into with this rogue emblem, so perhaps we're wanting to make sure into that, but we have our line pretty much well, not obviously set in fully. If we are going to be win streaking, we could be going for a higher cap than just a reroll out. But we can also be fully playing into this, right? This playing from a win streak into a 3-cost reroll is generally going to be preferred. And speaking of win streak, our win streak unfortunately does get broken here by the RFC Belveth 2. Still quite healthy on the econ. Now we're going to getting our Skull Party rolling in. Should be getting a little bit of the extra gold back. Generally with the Rogue Emblem from a win streak, it's kind of harder to think. You could be just playing for that 6 Dark Star variation without a Dark Star emblem, which is going to be a little bit weaker, but is one of the ways how you can approach this for the potential highest cap available to you. Now, do not exactly get a Kaisa Slam. Could be considering this last Whisper, but you definitely want to be securing that Infinity Edge onto the Kaisa, as that is going to be her strongest item, and sheer chunk of damage is coming from obviously her ability. She's more of a marksman kind of caster. They're going to be just slamming our open cloak onto the Cho'Gath right there. Queuing into a worth the wait Poppy tree. Just don't think we have enough damage to get through it, and yeah, that seems to be the case. They'll end up taking a full loss unfortunately because of it. And our next items augment selection right there. Salvage bin could potentially hopefully enable us to be slamming a Kaisa item right here. I kind of like this augment very much and would be my default. Glass Cannon is a decent augment in this line, but it's called when we are going to get Voyagers. We're going to be getting some damage jump, but it's not that much. Generally nice in these reroll lines. And then you can skip prioritizing things like Giant Slayer and Striker's Flail and go for other form of AP or AD items. Side effects, I just consider this to be a mediocre form of a frontline augment. You have to evaluate if your board is going to be having the healing on the units, but at the moment we would be ideally looking for either items or econ, I would per se myself, rather than these combat augments. So we're going to be rerolling side effects right away. Now going to be defaulting Salvage Bin here is a stronger option. Apathetic Forge, there are not that many great artifacts. Ruckus Miracle is even one of the most played artifacts in this line, and it has a positive +3 delta or something, so it's not that great. I believe now that we have seen Jeweled Lotus though, this would allow us to immediately be slamming onto the last Whisper and just bypass the necessity for the Infinity Edge and go for full damage on it. Arcane Victory, more in these stall comps, we are not exactly that. So we're going to be going with the Jeweled Lotus. Going to be working as a pseudo item augment for ourselves right now. And is going to gain generally more value as we're able to get to more potential carries, and our karma, we will have to bypass the necessity for farming, for example making the Jeweled Lotus on her obviously, which is going to work nicely since we only have seen a single glove right now. This is something you have to consider always from your win streak spots. So through the slam we are able to now go try to streak together again to get off that Master Yi. We have the target lock optics, but I don't think this is a Yi angle. Going to be holding on to it, but I would assume we're going to be giving it up quite soon. Anyhow, scouting our matchups a little bit, and we queue into a now. This is an Aura farming Shannon, I believe, with a Guardian's Angel on it. Edge of Night. I would assume that they are playing into that Master Yi with the forward thinking. Say, just going to be holding it, it doesn't cost us anything, so we can be denying a potential high roll from these players, something that you just simply do if you have the chance to. Now for our next god selection, 2 5-cost champions. This is just only real potential if we are playing into this line right now. If we are fully locked in already, we only can see the Jin. It's not going to be having that much value. It's 10 gold, but with delayed value. Getting 8 grow gold up front could be a little more useful, as we are going to be sending for those 2 stars quite soon. And the tier is generally a nice component. Blue buff is very good since Kai'Sa is getting those base stats and amplified through that. So I would be leaning with the Ari probably like right now. We cannot make that much use through the Rod until we get to that Kai'Sa. That's why also Crown Guard is one of the more commonly built items in this comp, as it simply offers you a potential slam. Picking up the Meepsy too, going to be pushing the levels, and we can slot in this Gwen for a rogue already. Going to be starting to roll here, looking to hopefully end up at 3 stage quite strong and find a Laoi 2 and sitting here on a Kai'Sa pair, but just do not find the Kai'Sa 2 right away. So we're already at 20 gold, which is quite deep. Have to be stopping here. We have found a Nunu pair, which is obviously taxed ourselves quite a lot. Nunu is something that we can be tossing on our board, but are we going to be holding on to it? It's quite rare for us to be 2-starring here, but obviously if we do, it's going to be extremely strong. But is this going to be worth the investment? Continue to dig for our Kai'Sa 2, but we just simply find more Ilawis already at 7 Ilawis right here. Yeah, should be transitioning items on her for sure. But this is a little unfortunate. Sometimes this happens, but hey, I should be able to pick up a win here against a team of 1 with a single item. Have managed to position the Ilawi right in front of him, and we're good there. And we have that TK in as well to hopefully farm us a little bit of an extra econ. You can see how well we can make use of these units even when we do not exactly have the Dark Star emblem ourselves, as we are approaching our way until we find that karma right there. So yeah, going to be just chilling here, most likely starting to send again for our Kai'Sa to find that karma right away and finally find that Kai'Sa 2 right now. So I would assume that this Cho'Gath would come out right now. Could be going for our Shojin Slam and a, well, Shojin and even Shroud, I would believe. I wouldn't be too keen of slamming the Nashor's Truth right away. Slamming more... Right, something whatever. Obviously, we have the Last Whisper. I forgot that, missed that myself. But we have the Shred Sunder sorted out right already. And now going for our last augment selection. We are a little bit on the broke side, so mostly going to be defaulting the booster pack plus healing orbs more in these melee solo frontline comps. Cybernautic uplink, not exactly that we're looking for either. And Best Friends is something you would have to evaluate in lobby. It's quite AD heavy. The extra attack speed, a little bit nice, but it's going to be a little bit tricky. We need Econ right now, and we're going to be getting the booster pack. Get a Zoe 3, which I do not think we can make that much use out of ourselves right away. Going to be just selling it, starting our slow roll right now, holding on to Meepsies, but I don't think we're maybe making Meepsy 3. No, not going to do so. Interesting that he's valuing having the Cho'Gath plus the Tom Kanchin. Obviously, keeping the Cho'Gath enables us to have Tom Kanchin plus providing the Brawler for our team. A little bit of an extra effective HP. We are loaded on the backline items. Do not exactly have the need to be slotting in another row right away either. So we can just simply playing a little bit of an extra HP for our front line. We're finding these 4-cost pairs quite a lot here. Away a single Alawi away, so sending it a little bit to starring our Kai'Sa. Sorry, 2-starring our LeBlanc. No, LeBlanc. It's Karma, there we go. I kept calling her, I believe, the whole time wrong. There we go. We have a Karma right now, 2-star, and she comes in clutch right away, able to take out this Primordian reroll right away. Now we are a single copy away from both of our 3 costs. And for our last god selection, I believe, well, we do want a little bit of gold influx, but the sword is going to come in quite handy right now. We have an open bow, I believe, so we can just immediately be slamming that GS. Plus the blinding speed, a nice increase for our Kai'Sa, and we get that anomaly to sort out our last tank item. I believe that is the way we should be going, unless we are going to be valuing the extra need for the Chest of Greed, but we are on a streak, we are healthy, we can delay, and we hire all the Alawi from our Pengu selection. Just going to be making that right away. Now we can make the GS. and be sorted out in this front, and we should be quite stably able to cruise ourselves for quite a while from this point on. We could see how he enabled this through identifying the aggressive roll timing on already from the win streak on 3-5, and that allowed us to string together this streak as we fought some players that have a little bit of delayed value going into the stage 4, and we were able to make our gold back this way. Generally, the 3-cost rerolls struggle on stage 4 whenever everyone has sent. You've seen these Master Yi2s come in from the sky, simply running to your backline or whatever, and you are here on your 2-star 3-cost, you're having a rough time. But we managed to dodge some of them, because we identified that we were going to be fighting them on the stage 3. And from here, we have had the nice HP lead that we have. This is always you have to take in account with these 3-cost rerolls. You want to be having extra few lives, and generally you're going to be winning about a couple of rounds going into this stage. Now we're looking to simply complete an Ilaoi item right here, something like an adaptive helm or a declo, since we have a bramble vest could be nice, and ideally another item on the karma. Is this going to be? He's just going to be saying this is enough. We can be slamming a stone plate right there, and we have an open TG. So who do we can toss? Toss it on the Raz, that's fine as well. We're gonna find a karma item a little bit later on probably. Let's see if we're going to opt to dig here a little bit. We have that Riven already also primed to go in as a level 8 unit, so he's evaluating that. We wanted a little bit more frontline power despite having the 3-star through the Rast. And obviously, since we have that emblem, getting just a little bit more from the rogues is not going to be that useful, especially Riven 1 is not going to be providing that much, while the Rast is working. I believe at the moment he's going to value at least of a silver augment, queuing into this Twisted Fate re-roll. Unfortunately, they have so much burst in them that they're able to still blow through ourselves, and our tank was on the other side. We have to see, we are keeping tabs onto this Meeple player here, seeing if any backdoor 4-cost, 3-star 4-costs are not coming in. Going for this interesting position, but obviously makes sense since we have that stone plate right there. This Ilaoi should be extremely strong, especially with Bramble Vest into this matchup where they are pure AD built, and we're able to clean them up since they're also only on a Riven 1. Going to, go see if he wanted to evaluate perhaps pushing the levels and then just completing the single copy on the level 8, but just wanting to secure this. Obviously the rolls on level 7 are going to be more efficient than we hit nonetheless before we have expired. Wanted to do so this turn as we are on the interval to level, able to level and slot in that Riven, going up against the Choga 3 Primordial reroll with that RFC Belveth, but the Bramble Vest simply playing its dividends. Such a strong AD lobby, and we are able to stall long enough for our Kaisens to do the full cleanups. Finding a mana item for this Karma is going to be great, getting her to cast there, and now she's going to be a prominent carry as well. The Rogue Emblem being quite flexible, not only through its reset, but the fact that simply it provides both stats. Positioning on the other side, but again seems to be a little bit not exactly the one matchup we wanted to be positioning for. But since this Kai'Sa's damage is going to be spread, we are able to get through these Z clones before they are going absolutely rampart, and we are cleaning up here, seeing to be pulling into very comfortably into a top 2. Natural Riven 2 that is going to be holding our TG now. Quite sufficient, very nicely planned around by Neat identifying that, hey, yeah, we're going to be playing around this Riven. We can pick up a TG right there. Again, positioning, trying to get in front of this Corki, doing a last second swap, and we do so. This is the thing that seems to be repeating in most of the comps right now, whenever you have these Giga tanks. Yeah, ideally I would have my tank and carry on the same side, but if there are players who have to move clumps and such, simply hover scout your main tank against the strongest of your matchups and make sure that it's right in front of there. That's going to essentially allow you to win fights, unless their weak side has something that can absolutely wrap your carry. But we should be quite healthy right there, and it works out nicely because our Kai'Sa was on the weak side right there. Now I would assume we start itemizing this Rust, or we could potentially consider moving off the Rogue Emblem. Just going to be going with a Stone Plate for the Rust there. just having some form of a frontline resemblance on our weak side now as well. Riven does get our wrap off against the Z player again, and the Kai'Sa is able to clean up the rest of the front line. So now we are left in a 1v1 against the Primordial player right here, who isn't carrying the Briar as would be the Starnet, but has that Bel'Veth 3 with the RFC. We can be sitting here comfortably since we managed to hit our Karma 2 on level 8 and just simply push there again. Hover scouting, making sure our big tank with the Bramble Vest is in front of them, dreading that stall, not getting these extra range procs for the Bel'Veth. And as you can see, as long as we're able to do that, we should be very comfortably winning these fights. Holding onto the Nami here, since that's going to be providing the most usage for our Rust, but we see that we can push levels. I'm not sure if we even needed that. He just maybe wants to end the game a little early on. Getting the conduit is not that bad either, but obviously Nami there would have been a replicator plus a space groove, which is always nice, to having at least one space groove when you're running Rust, little extra proc. But conduit for our Karma should be quite nice, getting her to cast a little bit earlier on. Still, the fights are relatively close. So we have to see, they have a little bit more room to grow with all these extra items, but we find another Bramble Vest, so now both sides will be secure. Opening to slot in now the Shen instead. No, Blitzcrank instead, alright. Blitzcrank could be knocking this Cho'Gath off into the Narnia. Again, the last second swaps they didn't go exactly for the Hover Scout, but still managed to get the Alawi right there. They have also slotted in that Jhin, which offers an extremely high cap for this Primordial comp. Able to win them, but they survive on a single life, so I believe the doom is going to be spilled for them into this last fight. Going now onto the Bard, which is going to be giving us that conduit buffer right there. Now going with a Sona instead, checking our Sona mod, and that's going to give us an extra item right there. So they tried to juke us and they managed to juke us, but we have now 3 an item tank at least here on this side as well. Riven does get procced early on, and the Kali makes a way to our backline, but we have the Rogue Reset coming in, and this worked out. As long as we didn't have the Alawi in front of them, their Bel'Veth, they were able to pick up a fight, and now a Jhin 2 has come in, so this is going to be a real matchup of how we are able to position ourselves, if they are going to be able to pull up this extra juke right away. Transitioning the mana item onto the Bard right there for a potential, I guess, to farm an Elder Dragon. Didn't that work out? So now we are simply to move it backwards, able to find a Jhin, and is that that's going to work, yeah, quite nice as an extra cap for ourselves. This is going to be quite rare if you're able to generally make it to level 9 with these 3-cost reroll comps, just since simply how expensive they tend to be, but this is going to increase our unit quality a little bit more and provide the extra utility. Now we are in the Cho, and they are in position over the possible middle there, Bel'Veth, and that's not going to work out for them. Let's just quickly take a look again. Maybe they were a little bit too busy, but their damage is quite spread out in this form of fashion, and they are still going to be active, and I'm not sure if this was the best position they could have gone for. But perhaps they thought that they were able to get the resets on the middle units before having to attack the tanks. However, nicely played game by Chaos nonetheless. Played for that early tempo, threw around this Kai'Sa orb. Greatly optimized our itemization, especially finding that Jeweled Lotus identified that's going to make a strong board for ourselves, and then crucially opted to roll down for that Kai'Sa 2 already on 3-5. Didn't fight her exactly right away, but still the upgrades enabled us to go on a streak in going into the stage 4. We were able to pick up the rounds again there and go on a win streak, finding that extra econ. This is, we know how expensive these 3-cost reroll comps can be. Then hit and reach our cap state like this right here. I would like to thank you for watching, and as usual, all the links are going to be available in the description down below. And I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.